Hello everybody, it's again your teacher John. Okay, today's lesson is going to be a little bit long, but it's going to be very useful because we're going to know some meanings and uses about the modal verbs. This is a very long topic, so we're going to divide it into different videos. So, let's go. Hello students, this is our third and final video about the modal verbs. Today we're going to see about the possibility and the request modal verb. So, ready? Let's go. Let's remember that the modal verbs are placed before the verb they are modifying. We always need to have the verb in a base form after the modal verb. For example, the opportunities available may change. All these the opportunities available, it is the subject, then the modal verb, then the verb in a base form. Okay, when we are talking about possibility, we have 5 different modal verbs: might, may, could, must, and can't. So let's start with the less probable. Might, may, and could. We use them when we are not sure about the action or the event it is going to happen. They are less probable. We use must when we are sure something it is possible or true. The expectation it is very high. And we use can't when we are sure something it is not possible. We are completely sure that the action it is not possible or true. Okay, let's go into see some examples. For example, Brazil might win the next World Cup. This is something that it is very low to know. If we can say this is like a 30% chances that this happen, because there are many national teams that are very good and all of them they are going to fight for the World Cup. I may see you at 9 o'clock. This is something very improbable, but in the difference with might, may has a 50% chance to happen. So this is used in a higher level of probability. And could, for example, in this one, it could rain this evening. This is the most improbable of those because it doesn't depend only of the sentence. They need to have in mind different external factors or conditions that don't allow to know if this modal verb it is probable or not. So this is the less probable of those because it depends on external factors. Now, when we are talking about something that we are sure that it is possible, we use must. For example, look in this guy. He must be cold. I am sure that it is happening, that he is cold. I am sure because I'm seeing. Or we can say he must be mad for falling into the ice. So I'm sure that it is possible that this sentence will happen. Now, when we are sure something it is not possible, we use can't. For example, he can't be happy. I'm sure he's not happy. I'm completely sure that he is not. Or I'm completely sure that the sentence it is not possible. So, because he is sad. Okay, now let's going to indicate some degrees of certainty of possibility using the modal verbs, okay? Now, let's analyze which one is the most certain. We have 3 different examples. The first one, I may play for the Manchester United. I could play professionally. And the final one, I may play the best I can always. So, which one do you think it is the most certain? Might, could, or may? The answer is may, because this is the one with a higher level of probability. Now, when we use the verbs, the modal verbs negatively, we just add not next to the modal verb. For example, I might not live in this city. We cannot or we can't live in this city. Here, I'm completely sure that that is not possible, that I don't live there. Talking about probabilities, we can always use will because it is something uncertain. We don't know if that happens. It will be like with may, if we can replace will with may. Or we can say we may not live in the city. Okay, now let's talk about the request modal verbs. That some of them you could see them in different uses. For example, can, could, we use them in abilities and also in possibilities. Will, if you remember, we use will in the future to talk about future activities. Those modal verbs are also used in the request. When we use the word request, it is just making a question. For example, would you please write clearly? Okay, here we have an issue with would because would doesn't have a translation. In English, it doesn't have a translation. Just make the word, the verb, ia, translated and finished with ia in Spanish. For example, would you please, podrías o escribirías por favor más claro? Would doesn't have a translation. Make right finishing ia. ¿Escribirías más claro por favor? But this is the only one that it doesn't have a translation. Would and will, they don't have a translation. Just make the verb sound in a form of request. Could, it does have a translation. Remember that the translation of could is podría, and it is the same for the question. Could you work with a partner on exercise 4? ¿Podría usted trabajar con un compañero en el ejercicio 4? Making a request is just making a question. Okay, now let's see formal requests. We use could and would to make formal requests. It's like asking anyone to do something. And could and would soften requests and make them more polite. When we use could and would, the question sounds more polite, we are more educated, and the question sounds very good to do it. What is the structure of making a question? First, we need to write the modal verb, then the subject, then the verb, but let's remember the verb has to be in the base form and the complement. For example, could you work on exercise 4? ¿Podrías trabajar en el ejercicio 4? The way that we sound, it is very good. And for informal requests, we can use can and will. And this is a less formal request. For example, can I borrow your eraser? It's the same. First the modal verb, subject, then the verb, and in base form, and then complement. And we can answer positively or negatively. Sure, no problem. I'm sorry, I'm using it. Now, the answers to those requests. Most of these questions are known as the yes and no questions. So the answer is yes or it is no, but not all the time. We can use another type of answer. For example, sure, seguro, certainly, sin duda, of course, por supuesto, no problem, no hay ningún problema. For example, would you help me read this? Let's remember that would doesn't have a translation, make this verb sounds in IA. No tiene traducción, así que el verbo suena en IA. ¿Me ayudarías a leer esto? Would you help me to read this? The answer, it can be yes, or we can answer, of course, I will help you. Or we can say, sure, certainly, no problem, I'll help you. No problem is more informal question, answer to the request. But also we can say negative answers to the request. We need to. It is very usual to give an explanation and apologize if we are refusing to answer positively. So to the question, would you accept my homework late? ¿Me aceptaría la tarea tarde? And the person is refusing, says no. No, but that no, it is what the person thinks, what she thinks. Instead of say no, we can say, I'm sorry, I can't. It is a very formal way to refuse to this one, because this one, it is what I think, and this is better to say that in order to sound more comprehensively. Okay, that was everything for the modal verbs. I hope through this process you can learn and practice a little bit more about the modal verbs. So thank you for these 3 long videos. Have a good day. See you in the next one. Bye.